we're going to begin this morning with another wonderful choice, listening to the song by Sue Riley, I Choose Love.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us, that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one choice unites us. Let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
Good morning. Again, what a great way to begin the day and begin our service. And so let's begin this morning with prayer. They say when you sing, you pray twice. And so this will be our topping the cherry on top of the ice cream here. That let's go into our hearts and take a deep breath and know that in every moment we have a choice to make. And we choose love. We choose to open our hearts, to open our minds, to open our hands, to be a channel for God's love, light, wisdom, and laughter in the world. We bless this time together, and we bless each person that's part of our spiritual community and our world, that may our spiritual practice this morning be a blessing to all those in our family, our community, and our world. And so it is. Amen. And please join me in affirming our invocation, the core foundational principle of unity. Together, There is only one presence and one power, living as the universe and as me, God the good, omnipotent. And Unity of Buffalo holds the vision and works to help create a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And the way that we accomplish that is through our mission, practicing the presence of God through prayer, education, service, creativity, and community. And by remembering our core values. The first one is loving. We can hug ourselves, expressing self-love, and then extending that love out to share with the world. Being spiritually centered and tapping your heart's a good way to do that. And being open and inclusive, open to ideas, to people of all walks of life and different ideas and expressions. And respectful, namaste. And compassionate, to come from our heart and to always say, what can I do here to extend love and kindness and compassion to others? So a wonderful way that we express our spiritual practice is by reading the daily word, and Lynn Tranchel is going to share with us the message for today.
So today, Sunday, June 11th, 2021, pray for others. I know the truth of each dear one I hold in prayer. What an honor it is to hold others in prayer. I am grateful for this sacred trust and use it to see beyond appearances, knowing they are temporary conditions. I focus on the unchangeable truth that each one for whom I pray is a divine being, a living expression of God. As I pray for others, I envision divine peace, calming thoughts, and strengthening faith. I see healing leading to the realization of wholeness. I pray divine love and wisdom, create harmony in relationships, guiding each decision. I affirm divine order is establishing in every area of life. I claim for them the zeal to complete everything that needs to be done. I then give thanks, grateful to bless others with the gift of prayer. And from Matthew 18:19, again, I truly tell you, if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. And the affirmation is, I know the truth of each dear one I hold in prayer.
I know the truth of each dear one I hold in prayer. Thank you, Lynn. And that is, of course, the perfect lead-in to our prayer time, to blessing prayer requests on our heart and from people in our community that have asked for prayer support. And Mary Beth is our prayer chaplain for today. Welcome, Mary Beth.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure and honor to serve as prayer chaplain today. And I invite you to focus on your heart and take a deep breath in, imagining the breath flowing in and out of your heart, breathing a little slower and a little deeper, and finding an easy, comfortable rhythm. And bringing to mind something that makes you smile and letting your whole body feel that smile, feel that gratitude as we focus on prayer, praying for others. And so we're holding today in prayer all those who have asked for prayer, specifically, especially Beverly Feldenhausen, who is requesting healing for her wrist, Carol and Max for continued healing, Mary Lou Saylor, who is having surgery this coming Tuesday. We also continue to hold in our hearts John Michaels and his family. John's sister Susan passed last week, so we hold them in a special place. And we also include the prayers of those who may not have specifically requested prayers, but do have prayers on their heart. And we also hold those in our heart that may feel like no one is praying for them. So from this place of love, this place of connection, I invite you to allow the words I speak to be those of your own heart. The Father and I are one, and nothing disturbs the peace of my soul. I am grateful today for the gentle, soothing rainfall. I am grateful for this connection with unity, those connected through technology, those watching on Facebook, and those that will watch at a later point in time, and maybe those that just hold unity close in their heart, especially unity of Buffalo. And we have so many people we can pray for. People in Florida as they recover from all that goes on. Those preparing for storms and hurricanes. Those in our family. Those that are healing. Those that are getting ready to pass. And those that are still here, mourning and grieving. And I trust that I'm always guided. I trust that my love is enough, that my love is strong, that my love soothes and helps. It helps me and it helps those around me and those I care for. And I extend my love to all beings on planet Earth. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Mary Beth. That was beautiful. So the theme of our service today is the power of choice. And we began with the song, I Choose Love. And a little later during our meditation, we'll have an opportunity to hear the song, Love is My Decision. And as I think about, everything in life is a choice. And, choices, we have an abundance of choices all the time, and we're the ones that need to make the decisions about which choice. Our daily word reminds us that when we pray, we are making a choice or a decision to see beyond appearances, to hold the high watch, to focus on the unchangeable truth, to pray, pray with healing in mind and all those things. And so as I thought about choice and decisions, it reminds me of the flavors of ice cream. This may date me a little bit, but I hope I'm not alone here. I remember when I was growing up early on, there was really kind of just two flavors when I was young, chocolate and vanilla. And then at some point, my parents started getting Neapolitan ice cream. You could buy this carton or half gallon of ice cream with 3 flavors, vanilla and chocolate and strawberry. And that seemed like a big innovation. And then, oh my gosh, I can remember as a child when Baskin Robbins opened in the town where I was growing up. Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors of ice cream. It was like, oh my God, it's like, could hardly even imagine such a thing, that there would be 31 different flavors. You go in the store, it was like a whole nother world. And so, I feel like, the spiritual lesson in this, and some of you may be getting hungry if you get up and go get a dish of ice cream, I won't blame you, but spiritual lesson is that it's important to remember in life, we always have choices, and there are often way more choices than we ever could have thought of or imagined, and that our prayer is about choosing wisely. I heard this week, a quote from the Vedas, from the Hindu tradition, and I thought it was wonderful. It said, "The ignorant person seeks material things. The intelligent person seeks spiritual goals. And the wise person just loves, and everything comes to him or her." And I kind of feel like that's true, that when we just love, when we choose love, when we just don't worry about a goal or an outcome, somehow things sort of just come to us. And then I heard, I heard someone give a talk this week, and it was based on this idea. The outline for the talk was the itch and the scratch. That we all have an itch and then some kind of scratch. The itch is kind of what's bothering us, or what's up, or what's making us uncomfortable, or motivating us to change. What's getting our attention in the world, globally or nationally or locally or personally. What's the itch right now? And gosh, we could look back at this last year and even recent things and say, boy, this has been a history-making year in so many ways. I read somewhere where astronomers announced that there was a star in the sky, a star that shines probably a couple million times brighter than our own sun, and it suddenly just disappeared. And so maybe we'd say, well, that's interesting. And then the Pentagon announced recently that they're finally admitting that there are UFOs flying in the sky. And well, some of you might have said, wow, that's interesting. What else you got for me? And then I see on the news that private citizens, of course you have to be very, very wealthy, are now building their own rocket ships to go out into space. That's interesting. You don't have to be an astronaut to go to the moon or to go to Mars. And then, golly, our friends out west and in the Northwest are experiencing unprecedented temperatures, hotter than it's ever been recorded in history. And we might be saying, oh my gosh. And then I attended part of the Unity Convention online a couple of weeks ago, and our executive director was saying that probably this last year with the pandemic is going to go down in history as the most difficult year ever to be in church ministry. Well, I can relate to that. But then I thought, well, what about the apostles in the first century? They had a heck of a time too. And so there's been a lot of things, a lot of itching going on. And then you add to all that I just think probably most of us, many of us, all of us are experiencing some kind of grief and loss. I just don't know of anyone that hasn't lost a loved one or someone dear to them over the past year. And so there's a lot of itching. And what's our scratch? How do we respond to it? And of course, the one best way is just what our song is. I choose love. And in this workshop, there were a lot of people that shared some very, honest, authentic ways that they have made some choices over the past year, and some have not been as healthy, maybe stuffing our feelings or avoidance or isolating or getting too busy, watching too much news or overeating or other things. But then I know a lot of us have made some really healthy choices too, staying connected with our feelings and finding safe and appropriate ways to share that with others. Just staying connected through our spiritual community. Taking time to stop and breathe and slow down. Take a nap. Do what you love. Eat your veggies. Be grateful, or laugh and play more. Move more. So these are all, to me, healthy ways of scratching for the itch, but also expressing self-love, which ultimately is really love for others as well. But, as I've thought about it, one of the biggest things I think that provokes that itch, for all of us is change, unwanted change, or changes that we feel like are happening that we don't have much control over, or changes we would like to see happen that haven't happened yet. So I wanted to start with a spiritual foundation on all of this and look at how do we respond to things that are going on? How do we make choices that are for the best? And the Bible passage that came to mind for me is from the book of Revelation. And I know we've probably all heard it a lot. Behold, I am making all things new. And I always like to remind people that the words there are, I am making all things new. It's not the voice of God saying, well, I made things all new, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it's done, nothing's going to change, or God did something once, or there was a revelation and that's it. No, the passage says, I am. The name for God, the divine presence within us, is continually making things new, is always making things new. And this is really important. The next line in the Bible in this passage says, write this, for these words are trustworthy and true. That this is important. Write this down. You can count on this. You can take this to the bank. And one of my sponsoring ministers when I was going through ministerial school was Reverend Ed Townley, and he wrote a book all about the book of Revelation called Kingdom Come. And he said that at one point he had a really important revelation about this passage, that he had been meditating about this a lot, and that he got that, there's a difference between making all things new and making all new things. And what he realized is that he was spending a lot of time in his life waiting for the kingdom to come, that he was trying to make new things in his life. He was trying to make a new job. He was trying to make a new relationship happen. He was trying to make some new money. Actually, he said he would have been happy to receive some old money too. But then he got it, that's not the promise. The promise isn't that I'm going to make new stuff in your life. The promise is that the presence of God is making all things new. That maybe some of the elements of our life, the people, the places, the things might stay the same, but our experience of them is going to be different. That, that behold, I am making all things new, is that the divine within us can look at everything and see it in a new way. And that making all things new it happens more easily when, as that quote that I shared from the Vedas, when you stay in that place of love, things just come to you. The I am within makes all things new. And it can even, I believe, make the loss of a loved one, the pain and the sadness of that grief, can be transformed into acceptance and meaning and purpose. So I've been looking a lot at or doing some reading on a book on organizational change, because change is one of those things that causes us to itch, and how do we respond to the changes around us? And one of the things that it talks about is we need a calmness of spirit and skills and tools that help us address living in times of great change. We need to understand that managing change is not about just getting to a new spot of where we're supposed to end up, but what's more critical than getting through it is being present to the steps and the stages of transition so that we get to where we're supposed to be. And one of the ways to do that is choosing love. I think about this as central to the idea of Jesus' teachings. And there's a little book that was written by Thomas Merton. He's a Trappist monk and theologian. This little book is called Bread for the Wilderness. And he got this idea from the story of Jesus instructing the disciples to feed the multitudes after they had gathered for 3 days to hear him talk and teach. And one of the disciples said, how are we going to do that? How are we going to feed all these people bread when we're out here in the middle of the wilderness and there's nothing? And Jesus, or Merton says in his little book, he finds the response in the book of Psalms. He says, what we really need is nourishment for the inner life of faith, for those of us that are dealing with turmoil and the mess and the mix of the journey. And that's what we need from God. It's not necessarily a quick little roadmap. How do I get out of this place of uncomfort or pain or fear? We don't need a quick roadmap. What we need is bread for the wilderness, sustenance and strategies to help us find our way through. And central to those strategies, of course, is choosing love, self-love. What's one thing I can do today that would be self-love? Maybe it's just taking a nap this afternoon, or, sitting and looking out the window, enjoying the weather. And then how can I extend love to others, to just have a loving thought or think about someone in my prayer? And I would add to this, not just self-love and love for others, but love of life. Just ask yourself or remind yourself, what do I love in my life? What do I love about the world? What do I love doing? And do more of that. Think about those things. So one way we can also think about these times of great change is to look at the history of the world and times of pivotal change in history. And a great example of that is the story of exile in the Old Testament, or what we refer to now as the Hebrew Scriptures, looking at times when there was like a major shift from what it appeared that God was doing of old to what the hand of God is doing anew in the present. And one Bible scholar says that one such moment, a perfect example of a pivotal moment, is the year 587 BCE. And if we were all here together, I'd ask you, well, what happened then? 587. It represents, that's the time when the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed and the Israelites were taken into captivity. Their temple was burned, the holy city was destroyed, the Davidic dynasty had come to an end, leading citizens were being deported. We might easily say that for the Israelites, this really represented the end of the world as they knew it. And sometimes we experience that in our own lives, that it feels like, boy, this is the end of the world as I've known it, with the loss of a loved one. Or somebody graduating high school. I'm seeing in Kenmore a lot of signs on people's front lawns, graduate 2021, congratulations. And, a young person moving out, maybe going to college or making a change in their life. Well, that's a whole new beginning. And we can think about that 587 year as not just a moment in time or a period in history, but as a metaphor for, any time when it's sort of the end of the world as we've known it, or something is dying and something new is being born. And we can look historically, the Israelites really had two tasks there of faith, and they had to let go of the old and figure out how to embrace what the hand of God, metaphorically, what was new that was ready to be born. So I think in many ways that's what we're experiencing in our world today. That's the itch, and it's for us to do the scratch. And there's a couple of things not to do. One is to give in to fear, that I heard recently there's two kinds of fear. There's fear of too much change, and then sometimes fear of too little change. Too much is sometimes fear of too much change feels like we're out of control. If something's starting to change here, we just think everything's going to change and we're going to lose everything that's near and dear to us. And then sometimes there's too little change, or we're impatient. What's taking so long? When's this going to get going? And feel like we're driving you can't steer a parked car. So I feel like sometimes we have both those voices in our head, or it's like a little bird on our shoulders. Don't change too much, but at the same time, I want some things to change. It's like yada yada yada. We have to choose love instead, to find a higher thought. And then another thing to be mindful of is that sometimes we look at every situation and we think that it's a problem to be fixed or to be solved. And that's kind of our human tendency, or it's sort of what we've been taught or trained to do, that every time we see a problem, oh, I've got to fix it, or something's broken, fix it, or find the solution. And when we put our focus on that, we don't allow the space for the energy of God, for something greater to emerge. It's sort of like that expression, when your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So when we've got a problem, it's just, well, I'll just keep pounding on this till we get a different response. But there's another approach, another way, that's sort of that bread for the wilderness approach. And the author of this book I've been reading suggests that, what if instead of seeing our problems or change that needs to happen or isn't happening or is happening that we don't want to have happen, what if we saw that as rather transforming moments that we're living through? Times when we need to slow down, listen more, to ask, what am I being asked to learn here from this time? That there's different kinds of situations. Sometimes it's a simple situation where the problem is clear and the answer is clear, and it's just like, okay, that's what I need to do to fix this. But then there's other times when what's going on is really an invitation for us to learn, to expand, to open our minds. And it's called adaptive learning, actually, where it's not just maybe there's something more I have to know, something more I have to understand. It's kind of, that quote you probably heard from Einstein about, a problem can never be solved at the level it was created in. So it's like just continue to spin our wheels is not at the level that we created the situation. It's not helping us move through, but rather if we consider that maybe the remedy, the thing that is our bread for the wilderness, is knowing that we're in a transformative moment, transformative time. And so we want to adopt practices that are bread for the wilderness, that spiritually feed us. Being in spiritual community, prayer and meditation and study and learning new things, and to be faithful to our journey in that way, and to share that generously with others. And then develop agility, trying new things, experiment. Don't worry about, if you try, Deepak Chopra coined this term of wisdom of uncertainty. It means always be open to all possibilities. That, man, that felt like that was a quantum leap for me when we went from 3 flavors of ice cream to 31 flavors of ice cream. And now there's probably even more, be open to quantum leaps of possibilities. And most of all, of course, choose love. Stay in that vibration where everything comes to us. Ask yourself every day, what's something I can do, one small thing, to express some self-love, to help fill up my gas tank here so I've got more to give to others. and think about, what do I love about my life? What do I love about this world right now? What do I love? What do I see around me in my community in Buffalo and Western New York that I just love, that I want to support and give more of, or just express appreciation for? And I feel like when we do these things, pretty soon we start noticing how things are changing, or our experience of them is changing. And we really live into the wisdom of that passage. Behold, I am making all things new. The I am within me is continually making all things new, making my experience of things new. And know that these words are trustworthy and true. Write it down. Take notes. It's important. And so now there's a time when I want to move into our time of meditation, to reflect on this and just be open to allowing, behold, I am, the divine presence within is making all things new, is giving us the right and perfect scratch for the itch of whatever's going on in our lives right now. And so we'll begin with well, why don't we begin with the with a little bit of meditation, and then we'll listen to the song after that. And I wanted to share today a reading from the Dalai Lama. It's called A Precious Human Life. So I invite you to gently close your eyes and listen to these words. Allow them to be your words. Every day, think as you wake up, today I am fortunate to have woken up. I am alive. I have a precious human life. And I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to be angry or think badly of others, but I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. So let's just take a deep breath and know that our spiritual practice here today, coming together and connecting, praying, reflecting on new ideas, is a spiritual practice that expands our heart. So I invite you for a moment to just reflect on one thing that you might do today that would be an expression of self-love. And I would invite you to bring to mind one person or several people that you love, that you want to send loving thoughts to. It might be someone you know, or a stranger, or even someone you have difficulty with, but in this moment you want to send them loving thoughts. May there be nothing but peace and love between us. And now I invite you to just bring to mind something that you love about your life or the world. Maybe it's nature, or maybe it's anything. Just think of something that you love to share with others, or that you love and appreciate. Maybe it's a pet, or your home, or your car, or a tree outside your window. And let's take another deep breath and know that love is our decision, and we're making that decision right now.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision.
Thank you, Anandi and Mike. As always, you do such a beautiful job of providing the music for our services. So may our spiritual practice today be a benefit to all beings everywhere. And as we close out our meditation time, I want to remind us that it's also part of our spiritual practice to share generosity, the giving of tithes and love offerings to our ministry, make all of this possible. And it's an expression of our prosperity and our prosperity consciousness to be able to share generously and support those things that we love and appreciate in the world. So since we're online today, you can give a gift this week through our PayPal on our website, the Donate Now button, or also through mailing a check into the church. And the address is obviously on our website, or you all probably know it. So let's bless our gifts and tithes that we give each week and throughout the month. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Freely I give, and freely I receive. Thank you, God. And then the movement part, we bless these gifts and see them pressed down, shaken together, heaped up, and running over and return to every giver. Thank you, God. I love that affirmation. I think it started when Reverend Laura was our minister, and I'm glad we're continuing it. So our prayer for protection is the light of God surrounds us, and we can affirm for ourselves, I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. I am that is continually making all things new. Wherever we are, God is and all is well. And now we'll have the closing song, and thank you for joining us today.